some of what I say kind of has some humorous elements to it, and it's not at anyone's expense. Like, I wouldn't talk about anyone's problems that I heard in there. I wouldn't reveal anyone's identities. But with that being said, I voluntarily checked myself in. And I met people who were involuntarily committed and didn't want to be there. And how nonviolent communication, like, I was rapidly absorbing that book in there, and just like, I can't even explain how fast I was absorbing it. Probably the fastest I've ever learned anything, and it just really opened my eyes and my heart and empathy and compassion to those around me. You know, I only concentrated on myself while there. And they have a program where they check on you every 15 minutes. The entire time you're there, they're going to check on you every 15 minutes to make sure that you are okay. There was an individual there who, as I observed through the lens of nonviolent communication, couldn't get her needs met. She was on the phone constantly. You only get 10 minutes on there, but she was on there as much as she could, arguing with her husband, her children. Now, I'm not going to talk about what they said, it's none of my business. But I did have to say something to the staff because her phone calls were getting increasingly disturbing. And they went and did something about it. And at that point, she shut down, and she really didn't want to be there. She was so angry, just so angry that, and I could see all the things, you have to read that book. I would try and explain more of it other than to say, but she couldn't give an observation, without some kind of evaluation. And by that, she said the hospital wasn't giving her meds because they were trying to kill her. That is an observation with evaluation. If she, just saying the hospital isn't giving me my meds, that's just an observation. She had a really hard time expressing how she felt. She was very angry but couldn't put it into words. And then her needs, she could not effectively ask, or, to explain what her needs were. She became so combative. They tried to give her meds to help her, but because she didn't get her specific meds, which I understand that, she couldn't express that. She couldn't express that need in a way that didn't, where just, she was unable to. She was too angry. And then she couldn't make a real, she couldn't make a request because of it. She was just so completely stopped. She went into her room. Excuse me. She stopped coming out, but they still had to go in there and check on her. And those people that work in that ward, I love those people. Like, that's a hard job. You have to have a lot of heart for it. But man, they were so kind and loving to me. That being said, every time they went into her room, at first, after she shut down, they would just, they just walk in. You know, they knock a little or something, you know, but I mean, if it's like sleeping time, you know, they try and come in as quietly as possible. And this really grated on some of the folks there. Like, they really, really hated that. This lady she especially hated it. And there's nothing to laugh about that, you know, her misfortune. But it's just that, you know, I could see that, you know, I never overheard anything, but I have good observation skills that my dad taught me. And I can kind of read lips. But every shift change that they went through, they warned the incoming staff about going into that room. You know, because that first time, you know, when they were just going in there after she shut down, you know, the door would open and she would just be like screaming, "Get out!" You know, when you're just like, "I have to do my job, lady." It's like, I have to do my job. I have to come in and check on you. And this got to the point where, you know, my room was right next to her, and I was just constantly walking around the hallways, and I would see the incoming staff that had to check on her, you know, and it got to the point where they would stop at her door, and they would just like kind of psych each other up. First, it was just one of them, you know, and then when the nurse and them had to go in there, you know, they would stand by the door and just kind of like, "All right, let's go." And I kind of found that humorous, and it was. I mean, it really did kind of like. It's like, wow, they're like, this lady really has them on edge. You know, because they walk in, "I'm alive! Get out!" at the top of her lungs every time. I enjoyed that place. I would have stayed longer, but somebody else needed that bed more than I did. Because I'll tell you what, the view I had, oh, you know, wow. 9th floor, just incredible view. Like, man, it makes the view I have at my condo look like the projects. What a time, though. Wow. But yeah, I'm going to be talking more about my experiences there, what I felt, what I went through, where I'm going, and especially about the nonviolent communication. Like that, I can't say enough about it, and I will do my best to explain more about it as I go on.